Thanks for listening to Why Waite, Innovate on North Volume Network.
Hello, North Country. Welcome back to Why Waite, Innovate. Believe it or not, we are at the 40th installment. We're going to do something special here. We're calling it the New North Volume. So most of our guests are familiar with myself, Matthew Waite. I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so. With us today, we have the New North Volume, as I alluded to. So we have Damian Battinelli, Neil Battinelli, and Jared Vislocky, not any relation to the Battinellis.
No.
We've adopted him.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're working on some paperwork.
He's our new baby boy.
So hopefully our listeners are familiar with the tag here at Why Waite Innovate. Our mission is to highlight North Country voices of citizens, activists, innovators working to move our region forward. So as we said, we're doing something a little bit special here for the 40th commemoration of Why Waite Innovate. So we're taking a deeper dive, going deeper, as they say, into the behind the scenes of North Volume Media. So there have been some recent developments, some expansions, so we wanted to talk about that on the 40th episode. So again, Damian, Neil, Jared, welcome to the show, and thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having us, Matt.
I know. Thanks for me having you in your studio.
You.
Little Tedra Cobb reference there for our listeners who really enjoyed the opening to the Tedra Cobb. So
Inside joke.
Solid.
yeah, absolutely. We love the inside jokes here because only a couple people get in, and I'm sure our listeners just love that. So let's get into it. A background, Damian, I think, needs no introduction. Our listeners are very familiar with Damian. If you're not, well, go back and listen to episode 3 of Why Waite Innovate.
And why the fuck was I episode 3, by the way?
We had priorities. We wanted to get someone not you in here first. I guess I should have reconsidered or at least considered that. But, I wanted to highlight other people in the community. And, actually now I'm thinking about a new format, Damian Battinelli every episode. What do you think?
No.
All Damian, all day.
Yeah, well, I think you two probably deal with a lot of that as it is.
Basically, it's just my life.
Job description.
Yeah, my life is Damian all day.
So let's do a little bit of background. Again, Damian, we've got a pretty good idea on what you're doing here at North Volume. So, Neil, introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about what you do here.
No, I'm Neil. I'm Neil Battinelli. I'm Damian's brother. I moved
Older
up here.
brother.
Older. A lot of people think that I'm younger, mainly.
That's because I'm
I
fatter.
do.
Well, I'm also a man-child, so I exude a younger persona, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's hip.
I'll take that.
Very hip.
I'm a baby.
I'm a grumpy old man.
So I came up here in July from Rockland County. I spent some time up here. I don't want to say that I grew up in the North Country, but
Kind of, though, right? I mean, I think you got a degree from Peru High School, which would kind of evidence the fact that you did.
Yeah, so we'll say that.
Yeah, he was gone more than he was here. So.
Yeah, exactly. I moved away 20 years ago and decided to come back in July.
I made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
I was gonna say, well, what brought you back here? So,
well, Damian's media company. Well, not just Damian. Absolutely. Let me take that back. Being away from my brothers and my sisters and my mom and everything really brought me back up here. But the fact that Damian's doing such cool things with North Volume really swayed my decision, because for about 20 years I was reluctant to come back up to Plattsburgh.
Yeah.
For 20 years, I would try and get him to come down to Rockland. He would try and get me to come back up to Plattsburgh. And I'm like, no, you come here.
you see the podcast network. I'm guessing you just looked at the array of services and media that Damian's putting out and probably said he's got something here.
Well, I know Damian's level of talent. That alone makes me want to come back and work with him. I mean,
but that goes two ways too. I mean, I wouldn't have invited him if I didn't think that he had the talent to be with us as well.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about some of your background then. Obviously, you have a bit of a background in performing, which I guess we'll just spoil right now. So in high school, what were you doing? You were in drama or?
Well, there wasn't a drama club 20 years ago in Peru, Central High School, but we kind of started it, and I say we kind of because we bought the scripts. We put together an after-school program for the drama club, and I remember the script. It was Blue Collar Blues. That's the name of the play. We read it. It was basically about some retirees and some people that some factory workers. The factory closed down, and we're a bunch of high school kids like trying to play these adult characters. We never had a single rehearsal. I don't even think we did a read through. But from what I understand, there is a drama club now. So I think it like
you must have started it. Why Waite Innovate?
I did start it. I started the drama club. So
Neil Battinelli started it.
Yeah,
You can look it up.
Yeah.
it's fact.
We should look into it. See if it.
I think Pam
Go through the years and see if.
Well,
it
one
was
of these
something
days
that-
I'll get a hold of Pam Tatro. Pam Tatro, if you're listening, or no, sorry, Pam Lavin. 20 years ago she was Pam Tatro. Now she's Pam Lavin.
Yes.
And I'll ask her. She'll know.
Yeah, I bet she would actually.
Maybe get a shout out in the yearbook.
Oh, yeah. She'll be like, Neil who?
No, that's not true.
But eventually, then I think let's just spoil this for our listeners. We met a little bit back in the day. I think my big thing that I like to hang my hat on is Game of Magic. I think I was just getting into it at that time.
Oh, yeah.
I beat the one legendary
Yeah.
Neil one time, and I've never forgot it, and I think everyone else has. So
Yeah. Yeah. But I remember that game. I don't. I have no idea what he's talking about. I'm sure it's happened.
So it sounds like playing in games, drama club, typical teenager stuff.
My senior year in high school, that's when I started. I had gotten into performance art of Magic. And I'll forget about Magic the Gathering, but we're talking about like David Blaine kind of stuff. And
Sleight of hand.
sleight of hand.
Yeah, that's the transition I'm trying to make then. So
Yeah.
eventually...
So I got into that, and I studied the way, people that study in college. I studied Magic the way that you would study for a degree.
Yeah, 101, 102, 201 classes.
Yeah,
You got your thesis.
Yeah, I've done. So then I started as a side gig, just performing Magic, performing close up at restaurants, clubs. One time I got to open up. I worked. I wouldn't necessarily say open up. It was
No, but
like,
you warmed the crowd.
I
up.
warmed the crowd up for Chris Rock, or not Chris Rock.
Tucker.
The other one.
The other
Chris
one.
Tucker. I always do that.
The other Chris.
The less famous one.
The poor man's Chris Rock.
Exactly.
Is what I like to call him. Yeah, so I got to do that. I got to perform Tokyo one time.
How many shows do you think you've? How many theater performances? do you
Oh,
think you've
theater
done?
performances? Oh yeah, and at the same time I was doing community theater. I've performances.
Yeah.
Let's say we average 9, and I've done close to anywhere between 15 to 20
Wow.
shows at 9 performances per show.
Damn.
Do the math.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of what we're getting into is you've obviously performed in front of crowds and have helped produce content and artistry that I'm sure Damian wants to help introduce here, and that's why we're here. So very, very cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of the talent that I was talking about that Neil brings to us is, I don't have a lick of that talent. So to have somebody come in, and a lot of this is, I wouldn't say performing, but our podcasts, there's a certain finesse to them, and to have Neil, kind of overseeing the podcast network, that's his primary job
Right.
here.
I'm
is
trying to get the focus on the entertainment value of
Yeah.
of
So we're going to try
the
to elevate
content.
the entertainment.
Well, someone needs to help me out, and that's why we're here today.
Yeah. So,
Need
well,
to
actually,
step my-
that's why we brought you in.
It's an intervention.
So,
Matthew, do some better work here.
flip the script.
So let's move on to Jared here. Jared, you've been here since the very beginning.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you a transplant to the area, born and raised?
I was actually born and raised here.
All right, very cool. So what were you up to? I think we know based on some of the videos we've seen, doing some
Right.
skateboarding. And
Definitely.
and is that kind of what brought you into the video and audio world of editing videos and creating content was through your own skateboarding career, so to speak?
Yeah, as a kid, I would do home videos and all that stuff, which was fun. And I got to be, after a while, the cameraman after being the star for quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Reluctantly. And just over the years, as I started skateboarding, it kind of coincided with maybe I should capture these times of my friends or myself if I land something, and ended up picking up quite a bit of knowledge from it. from doing it so much, and it was a good medium to have a bunch of footage of with skateboarding. Because you're always doing different tricks and you do dumb little stuff, but it gave me something to always edit.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. So what was it about skateboarding that drew you? Because, you know, listening to a number of things I do and watching content, skateboarding is one of those things that you really have to be passionate about. Because in order to get any good at this, you've got to fall a number of different times. You probably have to break a number of different bones before you start to kind of figure out what you're doing. So about what age did you transition into skateboarding? And then if you can follow up on about when you started to do the video content.
Yeah, so I skateboarded from probably when I was like 6 years old, and I always knew how to ride it from then. But when I was about 12 or so, my brother got a bunch of these like ramps for his birthday, and I just decided not to be the person sitting inside while he's hitting these ramps and falling. And it's funny how you said that, because one of the best tricks as a skateboarder is learning how to fall, or else you're not going to be out there very long.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, right? The tuck and roll or whatever it is.
Just being a rambunctious little kid and playing sports, I was always kind of good at like hitting the ground and getting back up and having energy. So definitely helped. And as I was around 12 or 13, and I had actually gotten in trouble for something at school. I wish I remembered what it was. It was probably halfway funny, but I got the video camera because I wasn't allowed to do things inside. I was told that I need to either be outside or no TV, nothing like that. So I started using the camera more, and by the time I was not in trouble, I hardly cared about what things had been taken away.
Right.
And I now picked up a different passion. So it was pretty cool how it worked out.
So did you say it was an older sibling of yours that had...
Younger.
Oh,
ironically. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. So you're a younger kid.
Yeah.
What were your parents thinking at this time? Were they cool with this?
Yeah, because my dad had lived in California, so
Oh, well, there it is.
yeah, we'd go skateboarding around, and he always knew how to ride them. But I was one of the first ones in my family to kind of like want to try the tricks after a while, after riding so long. And I'd be like, all right, I've played the Tony Hawk games and stuff. Let me try how to ollie, and of course, not very successful for a couple of years, but it worked out.
You're local?
Yeah,
Plattsburgh
local.
State?
Yep.
Did you ever think about leaving?
Yeah, definitely. I thought about leaving a couple times. Definitely, as I grew up through high school, that was always the idea, was to go to college somewhere else. But I don't know. I spent more time here. I grew to enjoy the area, the friends I had made, and it's pretty cool to have New York City close, Burlington, Montreal. You kind of live in a nice area up here.
Yeah, some triangulation work
Yeah.
here.
And with college, it definitely helped to be from the area, because I could make it through those harder times, like knowing where to get a job or knowing the area and just knowing how to make it as a college student.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wish I'd actually thought practically before I went to school, because I was like, oh, I got to get out of here. And I think we've talked to a lot of guests. When you get to 18 or so, you know, a lot of people up here, you just, for whatever reason, you've been up here, you want to kind of expand your horizons a little bit. And then eventually, a lot of people come home and just realize what kind of a gem we have here. Amy Guglielmo speaks very highly about that. So, yeah. So you basically said, well, it makes sense. I'm from the area. I'll have more connections here. It'll be easier to get a job, and that made sense. And
Yeah, pretty much.
it worked out.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
So your first gig, I think, was with Wiry. So kind of similar work to what you're doing now. Or?
Yeah, and it's funny with school, I guess, if I'm going to touch back to that real
Sure.
quick, is I went originally just for video and had a professor there by Tim Kluke that had talked me into doing the audio, because he felt that with my knowledge it would be well for the post-production field. And it actually ended up being a very good choice, because my only work outside of school has been for the audio. So
Shout out then.
yeah, definitely a shout out. Much appreciated advice.
All right. And then what brought you to North Volume?
Well, actually, Damian, when he was doing the
Funny story.
yeah. Yeah. Do you want to take it? You've been talking a little more than you. Why don't you tell a story? I like hearing it from you.
Don't be
Okay.
shy, Jared. We love.
So we all know about the Ben Stiller production that was going on.
Never heard of it.
for Escape at Dannemora.
Oh, that's right.
It's a Showtime series. You know Ben Stiller?
I've never heard of him.
Matt doesn't know him. Must be cool.
Must be.
And I was working with that production for about 2 years. And during the production, they were looking for some extras. And they were looking for some young people with long hair. And at the time, we had a guy named Ian who was working for me. Great guy. And he recommended his friend Jared, because he had long hair.
So you thought?
So I thought. So I messaged him on Facebook, and he goes, damn, I just cut it.
There goes
2
that.
days before.
I
Yeah,
know.
it was like 2 days before.
Your big break was there.
I
And then,
grew up for like 3 years,
Yeah.
and I cut it 2 days before he hits me up asking
Yeah.
about it.
But I don't know how we got into the conversation of like what you do and what you,
Yeah, I think I just
I think
thought it was a
maybe
good time
Ian-
to tell you too.
or maybe Ian mentioned something.
Were you
You
aware?
probably ask,
I
because that
probably
is
ask,
your
'cause that's what I
go-to.
do.
Every time
Yeah.
you meet somebody, you're like, "Hi, my
Hey,
name
what
is
do you
Damian.
do?"
What do you do?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's true though. That's how you make the connections.
Yeah.
If you don't ask, then in my brain I can't really, like once I start connecting the pieces, who knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah,
Right?
it worked
Sure.
out great.
Yeah, and that's what we
So-
talk about is just asking,
Yeah.
and the negative
Yeah.
consequences, the opportunity cost is really small. So why not just ask and
Right.
get a little
Yeah.
bit of background? And that's kind of how it started. So Jared, were you familiar at all with Damian and his artwork or any of the things he
Yeah,
was
I
doing?
knew Damian as a photographer, not obviously that well. Well, obviously, but like I didn't know him as well as I do now. But I'd seen his work. I think I've seen the high school senior portraits was what I saw a lot of the time. Because you've been doing that for how many years?
Whoa,
I think there was people in my own grade that had senior
Yeah,
pictures
I
done
think
by
it's-
Damian.
probably been 7 years.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, 7 years.
Yeah, and I just knew his photography, but I knew him through Ian as well, and I knew he was working on the Stiller, and I really liked everything they were doing here, so I was very eager to get in.
Yeah,
And at the time, I had just started thinking about this North Volume project. It was called North Volume: The Sound of the North Country, and I was like, and then when he said what he did and what he went to school for, I said, well, why aren't you working for me? And he goes, good question.
yeah, and it was
And
solved
he
right
came
there.
in, and I think I hired him like
Yeah.
right away, and it was right when we were starting this North Volume. What was it? It was an internet radio
Yep.
station. It was strictly internet radio.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm only gonna play local music. There's tons of bands here. I know it.
Yeah.
And no, there aren't tons of bands here. Great bands, but not very many to make this thing work the way I wanted it to work. And I only wanted to stick with local music. So it really took an area that's very large and narrowed it down to an almost impossible idea.
Especially when you think of like who has something recorded,
Right.
the people that would maybe feel comfortable with like people hearing that. Some people are very secretive or private about it and would, hold their work in high regard, so they don't want it out unless it's at a certain standard.
Yeah,
So I'm paying for this internet radio station site. I don't even know what you call it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, what else can we do with this medium? And podcasts at the time were just almost non-existent up here.
when did you first start to learn
It
about
was the
podcasts?
end. Oh, I've known about podcasts
Okay,
for a long
I guess
time.
the question
yeah.
is then, when did you kind of see this potential?
I saw it.
The Lowell Show.
Well, actually, it was. Yeah, Lowell was definitely one of the first ones, but I can't remember if was Half the Distance first or was it Lowell Show.
I think we discussed Half the Distance was technically first.
I think
but-
they were too.
think
but
the-
right around the same time, it was like
Yeah.
2 shows,
So
like
just
right
for,
off the bat.
just for our listeners, for context, I think this is probably about
End
fall of 2017.
End of August 2017.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then I was like, yo, let's bring podcasting to the North Country because it's just not happening. I go down to New York a lot. I've been to LA quite a few times. And, oh, that's not true. I haven't been there quite a few times, but I've been there
couple.
enough to know that podcasting's a thing.
Joe Rogan is a legend out there.
There was, there was like the NPR Serial, I think, was,
Yep.
was hot.
I actually just listened to season 3,
Yep.
episode 5 before I walked in here.
Yeah. This American Life.
Great stuff.
We had Ira Glass here in Plattsburgh at the Strand
No kidding.
Center Theater.
Oh, I remember that.
He did this thing, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, I would love to tell stories through audio.
Yes.
So that really kind of lit the fire for our podcast network. And I knew I wanted a network. I knew I wanted multiple shows under one name.
Can you explain that to me? Because, I think one of the things that you hang your hat on, and I think rightfully so, is that we're the only North Country network. Is that still the case?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I know that there's been a lot of people locally that are starting podcasts, which is great because this is the world. I mean, we didn't invent it, so
I think it's just naturally happening.
Yeah, we're innovating.
I think that we've definitely helped kickstart it and push it along. But I'm not sure if we're the only network now. But
we'll have our listeners fact check us there. So let's segue and let's get into the new North Volume. Now that we're about 1 year, a little bit maybe over the 1 year anniversary of North Volume Media, I think I had a metaphor here of this media company is kind of becoming a toddler. I think everything that starts out, even my law practice, you've got some things where you think you know what you're doing, but along the way you pick up some lessons. And I think right now this baby's starting to learn how to walk a little bit.
This is actually a huge transition for us that we're going through right now, and we've been known as In Tandem Productions for a year and a half, 2 years, almost 2 years, I guess. And the services that we offer within Tandem Productions is everything from like photography, video production, graphic design, websites, social media management. And then we had this North Volume Media, or actually it was just called North Volume, that was just growing and turning into its own like monster. And then it became very difficult to sell because we're an ad-based company, North Volume Media. A lot of the things that we do is ad-based. It was really starting to become difficult to sell the services and try to sell ads at the same time. So what we've decided to do is merge In Tandem Productions with North Volume and become North Volume Media.
And it looks like we have some marketing that we're doing here,
Do you
some
want a shirt?
swag. I wouldn't mind a shirt at some
Fuck
point.
you.
Maybe episode 50.
Yeah, I know. I guess I got to put more work in here. I was kind of joking in my own head. Lol, 25 episodes. That's cool, man.
We already sent Lowell his shirt.
How long ago did you... There it is.
Funny.
There it is. So yeah.
It was a spit take. Yeah. How many times does that actually happen? Almost came out.
So I think our listeners can see we like to have fun here at North Volume. Rag a
No.
little bit.
Of course. I feel like
No?
that's one thing with North Volume Media, and I really truly believe that we've formed this really great family here. I mean, I don't know how you feel, but we love you.
Well, I hate you right now because you guys are just giving me shit about
That means we're family.
Yeah.
They are pretty nice looking shirts though. But so yeah, the new North Volume then, I think we alluded to the way it started, it seems, was kind of you had the two separate entities, right? You had the In Tandem and then the North Volume. Now we're putting them all together, and I think another way in which you're innovating is by bringing in new personnel. So Neil, I think, was somewhat of a recent addition, or at least his responsibilities certainly have expanded recently.
We actually took on 3 new people almost simultaneously. It felt like.
Is that Jen?
It's Jen Agulia, Cody Reed, and Neil. Jen comes from SUNY Plattsburgh. She was the part of the marketing team.
She was working for SUNY Plattsburgh, not that
Correct.
she was a student.
Correct.
there.
Yeah, she wasn't a student. She was working for them with graphic design and things of that nature. And one of the things we do here at North Volume Media is we put out a digital magazine called North Volume Media Magazine. And I lost our editor, Tim Behuniak. Hi, Tim. He was great. He came from the college as a student. Actually, he was still in school, and he was able to intern his one of his last semesters with us, and he just really developed that magazine for us. Brought some massive knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, when I interviewed Tom McNichols, I talked about that first episode, and his writing and his photography both were excellent. So he kind of helped get the kid moving a little bit, crawling at least.
Some excellent photography.
Yeah. Cool. And then I think Tom and I were both very effusive about the video too. That thing's badass, right?
Yeah.
So the
You like
the
the
Wood
video?
Lab. Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah,
It's good, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
a good video.
So anyway, Jen Agulia, we talked about the magazine. So Cody Reed also is doing something very interesting as far as adding a new dimension to that. And I think for our listeners, we now may have viewers. So let's talk about that.
Yes. This is all brought to you by Cody Reed from North Volume Media. So Jen, just to finish that
Yeah,
off, Jen
sure.
is our magazine editor now, and she's phenomenal.
She's very great, and
Yeah, I
on top of
could
everything.
not be more happy. So Cody is a native as well. Earlier you were talking about people who come back, and Cody is one that recently came back.
From Nashville, Tennessee.
From
I guess.
Nashville,
I actually had to
Tennessee,
inquire
yeah.
why,
Yeah.
and I think he just kind of liked the scene up here, and there's
Yeah,
a lot going on, and
I think he
it's-
saw like a lot of potential, a lot of things that are happening, especially like North Valley Media. One of his friends that are still up here recommended, him to me because he knew that Cody was coming back. And Cody's background is pretty impressive when it comes to video and editing, both audio and video.
I mean, Nashville is quite a scene as far as certainly audio recording. I'm sure our listeners know.
he got a lesson of a lifetime there for sure.
Yeah.
And we're super excited to have him here with us. He's helping us elevate this to a level that I really only dreamed of. So
Yeah, because I think, even my introduction to this, I've largely been a visual person. You're still listening to audios. I kind of got into podcasting right about the time that we kind of just, I think, I can't even remember if it was you came to me or I came to you. I think we were just kind of out and it's like, hey,
yeah,
I'm doing something. And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's really interesting. Let me think about that.
Right.
And then eventually, apparently, something happened.
yeah.
Why
well,
wait?
you had a lot of ideas, and you definitely I said with everything, I have everybody pitch something to me. There's been plenty of people that have like, oh, I want a show, and then I say, oh, what would it be about? And be like, well, it'd be about me. I'm like, well, okay. I believe that you're interesting, but pitch it to me. And they can't get very far. They didn't really think it out. And so I always tell people, pitch me 3 shows. And you did it like right away. And I was blown away by what you had, created within those 3 episodes. And I was like, damn, this is something.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I did take some time with it. I mean, I thought about it for a long time, and I think at the same time you had been talking to some other people about similar types of shows. So I was thinking, can I actually pull this off? And then eventually I came to you with some names, and then why wait? Let's do this.
Yeah.
All right, so Neil, tell us a little bit about what you're doing here. What are your duties and responsibilities as far as keeping the train on the track here with the podcast? Because you got some personalities to deal with. Myself, Lowell,
Sure.
Lit Podcast,
Sure.
Nick Dubé, some characters. So how is it kind of trying to keep everyone in check? I mean, how much trouble are we creating for you?
Oh, it's been a dream so far.
You've got your show. You've got
Lowell's show. You've got the
A Lit
mental
Podcast.
health, A-Lit.
Top 12.
At least I tried. Top 12.
Yeah, you're
And
actually on another
I'm
podcast.
actually on yeah. But one of the things that I found was that you all have the same hobby, and that's podcasting. And you can't really talk to anybody else about your hobby, except maybe to other podcasters. And I found it strange or interesting that you guys haven't gotten together and kind of cross-pollinated your own ideas and how you develop your show. So like a conversation between you and say, in top 12, or at least I tried.
Yeah.
And you talk about the way that you come up with your interviews. So that might help us help top 12 if one day they decide to do an interview and we can learn from you. So I think like having monthly meetings where we all get together and have some coffee and bagels.
Yeah, and
Basically, what he's describing is everything that I was not doing.
Yeah.
Which, from a managerial point, I was not providing that atmosphere to the podcasters. Something that, not that I didn't know that it needed it. I just didn't have,
You just didn't have the time.
Yeah,
you
no,
just didn't have the time.
I've
kinda
loaded
So,
myself
and then
up
provide
like a
you
maniac.
guys with analytics.
Yeah.
I think another thing that a lot of the podcasters were missing was feedback, how their shows are doing. How many devices have they been downloaded on iTunes?
Android, all that.
Android,
type
all
of
the
stuff.
different mediums.
So Jared and I have been working together to we put together a little package for you, and we'll go over that.
Tell me how bad I'm doing. I'm
Yeah,
looking
we'll wait
forward
till
to
after
that.
the show.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've been canceled. No.
And like the
This is the last
scheduling, making
episode.
sure that the people are happy. Whenever there's you've got a lot of personalities.
Keep the
involved
talent
in
happy,
these, in these
as if we have any
podcasts.
Well, you kind of nailed it where you said, keeping that train on the tracks. That's really why Neil's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's only one of his jobs. He's also a social media manager for North Volume Media as well, on the services side of our house.
Damian and I, when we started out, were creating so much that it made it hard to find all those things in the cracks that get lost. So having Neil around to look at it from like the backwards perspective, or I don't know, how would I put it? But
Yeah, no,
I think
High level,
the upside
From
down
high-
one.
yeah, like me and Damian are pretty hands-on with it, and then we have Neil to kind of like make sure everything's going the way it should, whether it's runtime or content or.
It was interesting having him come into our world.
Yeah, it was already-
with this, because he came in with like fresh eyes and, well, are you doing this? And most times I'm like, I've always wanted to, but
Right.
I just can't. And that's where he kind of comes in.
Yeah, I think you're alluding on two things. One is the time, because I mean, I gotta admit, I mean, we went out and I think saw Lowell not too long ago, and we're talking about scheduling this, and I think everyone thinks it's a good idea, but we're all so busy, and Lowell does 3 different things. I've got like 3 different jobs between a podcast, volunteer work, and the family life, the law practice. But yeah, I think the great thing about Neil is having a focal point where anyone who has questions, we know where to go. It's not, Damian, and because Damian's obviously super busy, or Jared is cutting the audio all the time. So it's like having someone that we can kind of go to as a focus point, and someone to bounce off ideas. And hopefully, I think what we're looking to do here is to collaborate a little bit more and crowdsource things a little bit and figure out, okay, what's working for you? Okay, well, I'm having this issue where I'm getting some suggestions. Maybe it's a little too formulaic. Maybe I need to just kind of spitball a little bit. And I love having those conversations. And I think hopefully we can get a weekend where we're all have an hour or two. But yeah, I think you're onto something, because I think we would all benefit from that kind of collaboration and talking about these issues. Because quite frankly, I've said this probably more times than I should. I still feel like a newbie into the podcasting. I mean, this is 40th episode. I started January of this year, and I've only listened probably to about, let's say, 50 to 100 podcasts this year, and I'd much rather do a ton more research on the craft, on the medium, on who's good, and it's just hard to find that. So I think our listeners will hopefully appreciate that we're making some progress, we're doing some cool new things, but be a little patient with us too, because we're busy, we all have our other lives. And the other thing, of course, we'll tell our listeners is just keep the conversation going. I think that's what we're trying to do here, collaborate. And in order to have North Volume become what we want it to be, we have to have the community involved and engaged, and I think we're getting there. So as we're talking here, we just talked about Cody. Obviously, Cody's looking at the media aspect. So I'm interested into exactly how this is going to play out. So Damian, can you tell us a little bit about the video component? How is that going to be integrated?
Sure. So not only will you be able to listen to the podcasts, but you'll also be able to watch them through our YouTube channel that we're creating, and underneath the name North Volume Media Television. And what we're doing is we're going to be producing our own original content as well, and this is part of it. And it really feeds to people who aren't into podcasts, and maybe they're more YouTubers.
Well, that was the point I was trying to make a while ago, which I got a little distracted, was, everyone learns differently, right? Some people are audio learners, some people are visual learners, some
Right,
people
correct.
are autodidacts, they need to do it themselves. Kinesthetic, I think it's called. But yeah, I think what we're looking to do is maybe not everyone wants to just listen to audio.
Right.
Maybe just seeing the back and forth, adds a different element to that. And I think that's what we're looking to do here, is to add more elements, more depth to the conversations that we're having, and bring in more people. And I have a feeling that through YouTube, I think our listeners have probably heard about that, a little company called YouTube. I mean, their reach is just enormous. So tell us a little bit about that. Will they be able to subscribe?
Yeah, and we absolutely hope that everyone will subscribe. There's a lot of benefits that come to having lots of subscribers with YouTube, and we would be able to bring more content to our YouTube channel with more subscribers. So please subscribe. And you can find it at North Volume Media. Just type it into Google or Google or YouTube.
Okay.
And you'll find it.
And then, so the YouTube stuff, what's the time frame as far as, I mean, I think I've been hearing the videos
We're
kind
slowly already launching things.
Okay.
So you'll be able to go in there now and watch a few original pieces. Some podcasts are on there already as well. There's some shows that we have in development right now. We have a cooking show that's in development with local. What do you call them?
Chefs.
Chefs.
Food makers.
Food makers. Makers of the foods. And we're really excited about that. So, and these are the types of shows that we want to create, is this local feel. My whole goal with North Volume Media from the get-go was to focus on the local community and bring the community some entertainment and some education. And that's really what we've got going on here.
We're talking on the 40th episode of Waite, Innovate, which it feels pretty gratifying personally. I'm sure you're pretty happy to see some of these milestones coming out. Let's talk a little bit about Lowell Worcester. We've referenced him a little bit, the Lowell Show, mostly focused on music and people in and around the music industry. He just hit a milestone, 25, with a pretty big guest. So talk a little bit about that and how exciting that is.
So we were lucky enough, a friend of mine in Vermont contacted me and is friends with Darren Miller from formerly of CKY, the band. And he's got a new band, 96 Bitter Beings, and we were given this opportunity to put him on Lowell's show, and he graciously agreed. And you know, these are the types of interviews that we hope that we can continue and bring this outside source into the North Country to kind of, you know, educate and entertain. And I think that Darren nailed it, and Lowell nailed it, and we're just really excited about that one.
Yeah, it's a good interview.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, Lowell, I think our listeners probably know I'm pretty effusive about Lowell. I mean, he has just some really excellent questions. I mean, he really gets to the heart of the matter and is very thoughtful about what he's going to ask people.
Right, he lives and breathes music, so who else better to ask these questions than Lowell Worcester?
Yeah.
I think on one level, what we're looking to do is to highlight, obviously with this show, the voices of North Country activists, artists, organizers, etc. But at the same time, you also don't want to make it per se, essentially exclusively North Country, right?
In the beginning, I did.
Okay.
In the beginning, it was a little bit naive on my part to think that I was only going to create content coming from the North Country. But now that we've developed the way we have, there's no reason that we can't bring these stories to the North Country and share them with the North Country. We can still focus on, you know, North Country artisans, but you know, every now and then we'll sprinkle in something like this, like Darren's interview, which was awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So keep an open mind, and essentially, you know, a lot of times there's places outside of the North Country that have cool things going on, and our listeners want to know about that.
Right.
So,
exactly.
even though it is kind of a regional feel, I mean,
I think it's inspiring.
Yeah. So act locally, record, and have local artists, but also think globally. And if you get an opportunity of someone who's moving and shaking, you know, someone actually suggested that I have Bernie Sanders on the show, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And then I was like,
I may be photographing
can
him
I
next weekend.
do that? Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe we're innovating right here. We'll have to you know, lay that seed, so to speak. But
Yeah.
he's on the ballot on November 6th, as you probably know. I don't think he has much of a realistic challenge, but anyway, that's something that I think even hadn't really crossed my mind too much. But I think over time we're hoping to just, you know, slowly expand. And how cool would it be to have some Montreal artists, innovators coming in and talking about some of the cool things going on there? So
Right, and you know, I mentioned, you know, the inspiring part, and I hope that, you know, maybe there's someone out there that just needs a little push, like has been thinking about doing something and maybe is afraid to do it. If you can hear someone else's story, maybe it's that little push that gets them to do it.
yeah, and so it sounds like you're taking suggestions. If people want to pitch an idea,
Yeah,
how do
always.
they do that? What's a good place to find you?
For a podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Email me.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
there you go.
email Neil
Email me.
at neil@northvolume.com. And if you really want to know, I'd like three solid
3 episodes. Your
three
first
episodes.
3 episodes.
Yeah. Pitch it to Neil, and Neil will talk to me, and we'll see if it's a good fit. But at the same time, you can rent out this space. So if somebody wants to create a show and it's just not a good fit for North Volume, we have a plan for that. So, you know, reach out to us and we can help.
All right, so
create
check
your
out
show.
northvolume.com. I'm sure there's a contact, things of that nature,
of
so they can
course,
follow
yeah.
up on the interwebs. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's just touch on, we've alluded to a lot of these, but just go over the current roster of podcasts. The Lowell Show, this one, At Least I Tried. We haven't talked about too much about that. Jess and Kate Lapierre. How's the future looking with that? They have
They're on a little hiatus right now. They moved to New York City, the Big Apple, and they're trying to maneuver through.
They're trying to
that-
balance both
yeah.
their real life and their podcast life at the moment.
Yeah,
but
like Neil had said, it's a hobby at this point, so you got to weigh it out. And,
yeah, but I just spoke with them last week, and they're doing really well, and they're getting ready to come back. So they will be
Yeah, we're
back.
excited
They will
about
be
that,
back.
Yeah, so
good tease.
we had the pleasure of having them on our show. Very, very fun, very smart, energetic, just very thoughtful young ladies, and we're very optimistic about the future of At Least I Tried, a lit podcast. We also have the Mental Health Survival Guide, Nick Dubé. I love that episode. I think one of my favorites here at North Volume as well. Really takes a deep dive into issues that are confronting everyday people in the North Country.
Yeah, when Nick pitched that show to me, it really hit home for me. I'm a veteran with PTSD, and when he pitched how his show was going to play out, it was an absolute no-brainer, just like your show. I believe we all struggle with some sort of mental health issue, no matter what it is, and Nick does a great job of not only talking about it and bringing it to light, but saying it's okay and here's how you can deal with it. Here's how he deals with it, and his guests deal with certain issues as well. So I'm really proud of that one.
Yeah, I am too. And Nick and I have a little competitive banter here. I think I just maybe tied him on
competitor?
the. I know. So there you go. But no, I mean, not only is Nick doing that episode, that podcast, which is excellent. He's also top 12. So let's talk about that.
Top 12.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about this. Tell us, Neil. You are not only are you helping keep the train on the tracks, but you are also helping
Contributing.
shovel in some of the coal too.
Yes.
Yeah, when he can get here.
One time. One time.
I know I've never been late for any recordings or had to reschedule. Like,
Bullshit.
today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
sometimes
top 12.
Sometimes trials take longer than you think they are. But yeah, top 12. Tell us a little bit about that. How did that come together?
Top 12 is Nick Dubé, myself, and Craig Mathers, who is the manager over at Cumberland 12. And every week, the three of us, we come together and we talk about a movie that's coming out soon over at in the theaters, and we come up with 12 factoids about it that should get people excited to see these films.
And I'm guessing with your background in performing and artistry, that movies is obviously a medium that you enjoy.
Right. A lot of people they have hobbies like
Podcasting.
sailing or rock climbing or hiking, and my hobbies are just watching movies.
Well,
So-
it comes off. I mean, obviously, is it Craig? He's been involved with the business in some way for a while, right? I think his parents owned a movie theater back in the day.
Yeah, I think it was a drive-in.
Yeah, that's what I recall from,
Yeah.
I think, the one episode of Top 12 I did listen to.
The one?
I know.
Do you know how many I listened of yours?
Please do tell.
Countless. All of them.
All
Matt.
of them, I think.
I listened to all of them.
So anyway, really interesting take into film, and obviously you're hoping to get more people going out to the film and enjoying art. So
Sure.
how's that going along? How many episodes do we have for Top 12?
10. We have 10
What was the last
now.
film you just did?
It was Overlord. That comes out this
Overlord,
Monday,
yeah.
though. We haven't really. Did I?
It came out.
It came out last
Yeah,
last
it
Monday.
came
That's
out this
right.
week.
That's right.
Cool.
Last Monday, yeah. That's a World War II zombie film. It's gonna be great. I'm so excited for this.
Wolfenstein the movie.
Yeah, Wolfenstein 3D the movie.
But as you can tell, I mean, the passion's obviously coming out. I mean, you care about film and movies and art,
Yeah.
and talking about that and educating the North Country and having the discussions. I have to say, I apologize, it was only one, but the one I did listen to was really, really well done, and just a great banter between the three of you. So Nick, again, on another podcast, like he doesn't have enough to do.
Well, what's nice about Top 12 is that because there's three of us, every week we rotate who writes the outline for each show.
Ah.
So, it's not as much work for one person.
So Nick should only be getting credit for 1/3 of those episodes.
So I
Always the
don't know.
competitor.
Always.
All right,
He's
so
like me and Nick. We have a competitive banter. I think Matt, you're the only one that's competing in this one.
I think that's probably.
I'm the best, and I could see Nick is just like, all right, Matt. Yes, you are.
No, I mean all of this. I think we know we know it's in good fun, and I think it does help to kind of even. I mean, it can't hurt to have a little bit of taking pride in this and wanting to get as much out there. So
We all love it.
and let's running on Jack. So that's an interesting podcast. I love the two girls, Amy Reddy and
Yeah.
Sandy Geddes.
Yeah, it's
A
great.
lot of fun. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're wild, but you know, when that show was pitched to me, it was a lot raunchier, actually, to tell you the truth. And I said, let's dial it back just a little bit. Like,
wait a
I'm
second.
like,
You
this-
went to them
yeah.
before the first couple episodes, and then they dialed it back a little bit.
Yeah. yeah. So, but I wanted that. I loved the concept. I think it's fun. So we went with it, and I'm loving it. So I think it's.
Oh, I had
it's a
them
great
on, and
addition.
they,
Yeah.
coursed me into taking into some of their rituals there.
It's one
but-
of our better shows too. Numbers wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think our listeners will know that the energy and enthusiasm and similar, I guess, a little bit to At Least I Tried. They're talking about real issues, relationships, and trying to break. We talked about
Right.
Nick and trying to break down stigma with certain things. I think there's a lot of things that they talk about because one of the things, in listening to all of the information I take in, there's a saying in mental health that if you can talk about it, it's manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that they're doing is they're talking about stuff that a lot of people would be taboo. You know what I mean? You'll go and you sit on social media, they'll take a picture of them on the toilet, and a lot of stuff that kind of shocks and awes you, but at the same time, it makes it more accessible and real. And so we love what they're doing, and they're social media superstars. Well, that
Yeah.
doesn't hurt.
Yeah, they're great.
All right. So what else do we have here? Redhead Realtor, Josh Dubé.
Yep.
I think that's button mashing. So
Yeah, button mashing.
we're in a second iteration because this is interesting to me. And one of the questions I had was, okay, the video component, how does that make sense? And I think very much button mashing fits into that because
Yeah, you want to go?
Yeah, that's a really good example of how the video can be, in some ways, more applicable than audio, I guess.
illustrative. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
You can essentially take the video. I mean, I haven't had a chance to. I've listened to a couple, but I haven't had a chance to watch any of it. But I would imagine that you might be able to actually like bring a video game in, and
Yeah.
we were looking at a screen here, and to be able to talk about it in ways that listeners or viewers, in this case viewers, can be like, oh, that's it. That's the video
Exactly.
game, and then obviously that helps promote it a little bit. And
Yeah. Instead of us having Camden, who is much better on video than audio. If you know Camden, you can attest to that immediately. But now we have the video to coincide. So instead of him describing a video game that maybe he played the night before or a couple hours even, he's actually playing it in the studio.
Yeah, so Camden seems like a very gregarious, fun-loving guy, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that comes out in the video a little bit more.
It translates a little bit better. In his recent episode, he had both his brothers come on, and they just played Spider-Man and talked about how it makes it the best iteration of that character in that game and how it compares to other games. So there's thought behind it, while it's still a fun show that they're just playing video games.
What did Cody call it? Where you watch, watch?
Oh, Let's Play.
Let's play.
It's kind of like a let's play with like a little thought into it, but for the most part, it's like a relaxed setting. And Cody does a great job editing it too. We have the video in there with the sound. It's a cool production.
Yeah, when the first version of button mashing, I'm not a gamer. I appreciate the video games, but I know that the market is massive and the industry is just bananas.
Esports. This shit is crazy.
Yeah.
The video, supposedly, I heard this statistic not too long ago, but it's bigger than porn. And porn is a massive industry.
What, porn?
What's porn?
Yeah, explain it to me. Our listeners can
I'll tell you
Google
after.
it.
I'll tell you after.
Not safe for work. But anyway, no, I think your point is well stated that the video component really seems to add something, especially with something like button mashing. But yeah, the esports, I mean, I'm crazy to just... It's insane to me that people actually watch videos of other people playing video games.
That's the
Like,
world we live in
that's
now.
a
It's
thing,
like-
isn't that
it's like
weird?
we watch everything.
I think it's a. Oh, sorry.
No,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say I think it's a mix of so many games coming out nowadays. The medium, as you just said, is growing, and on top of it, they all cost the same money. So after a while, how many can you buy and play for yourself until you just watch a couple games and you decide, like, is this a game worth investing my money? If you're busy, your time, which can be even worth more sometimes, like how many games are you going to really play?
Yeah.
So the show is cool because it can give you a look into a game that maybe you're on the fence about, or
I mean, it's not that crazy though if you think about it, because who watches football? And that's a game.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know?
No, yeah.
that's a good way to put it. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely we're getting into some new. I mean, the culture's changing, and that's what we're here to do. So,
I mean, I read an article that there are parents that are paying coaches to
Fortnite.
teach their kids how to play Fortnite.
Yeah.
well, this is no joke. I mean, in researching some of the issues around this, some of these kids are literally getting $1 million contracts.
Yeah, that one kid got like 11 million just for opening toys in front of the camera.
Yeah, I mean,
Playing with them. He'll play with them. He'll talk about it, and that's it.
it's kind of funny because
Are you
millennials.
subscribed? Of course.
You know.
What we're seeing is that the landscape is really changing in a lot of different ways, and the fact that I think it was just funny because I was thinking, YouTube star and like esports rock star are now two things that very evidently come up on like what do you want to be when you grow up, and it's not that pie in the sky anymore. Like these people can actually do that. I mean, I don't think everyone can, but
I'll get invited to elementary schools to talk about my job, and I love doing that. It's one of the best things I do. And once they find out that we do we have a YouTube channel, or we do videos and we put them on YouTube, the kids freak out almost every time, lose their shit, and are screaming at me, "What's your name? What's your YouTube channel?"
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. They're silent, stone-faced until I talk about YouTube, and they freak out.
and perhaps maybe that's the way that we're innovating through video is we're bringing a younger audience maybe who
Absolutely.
is not used to the podcast, and
Right.
very, very cool. So let's segue here and talk about a couple of the other things here. So we talked about the magazine, which is excellent. Our listeners should go to North Volume Magazine and check that out. What are there, almost 5 episodes?
We're working on the 5th issue right now.
Okay, and then one of the things I want to talk about, Groovy Humans. I mean, this
Yeah.
stuff is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. That was an idea that came from something I saw on YouTube, which is Scary Pockets. And they do covers, but in a funky way, and they're absolutely amazing. So a few of my friends locally, I approached them and said, "Listen, there's something here that we could do on a local level, because music's pretty big here in this town, in this area."
Yeah.
And so I approached Jay Lesage and Craig Hurwitz, and I mean, we just came together and we invite other musicians on, and we record it with video, and then we also record the audio. So maybe someday you'll be able to download that audio one day.
Yeah, I hope so. So just for our listeners or viewers, check that out. I mean, check
It's
out
a lot of
northvolume.com.
fun.
I think they've got about maybe 18 or so videos, maybe a little less than that.
A little bit less than that, but
15 or
we
so.
went on a little break for the summer, and we're going to start bringing some back here real soon.
All right. So let's talk about what's next. We've had...
We're moving.
Oh, okay. Wait, what?
Yeah. You didn't know?
So...
Oh, you guys didn't tell him. Oh, we weren't supposed to tell him.
weren't supposed to tell
Yeah.
him.
Oh man.
He's gonna come in here, all the lights are gonna be off.
well, it's because I...
Episode 40.
This is the intervention. Yeah, we're done here, so you don't need to know. Don't find us.
No, so
Physical location is changing. So
physical location, sure. We're moving to 43 Broad Street, big yellow building that used to be a dentist office. Which funny that this used to be a dentist office as well. They work out really great for media companies.
apparently, yeah.
So we're really excited about that. We're changing logos.
The T-shirts. There's swag. I think
Yeah.
there's bumper stickers even. I have one on my car.
Yeah.
Just
now,
one?
Now we need
Not-
new ones.
I was gonna say not the new one,
Yeah.
but
So, but no, there's a lot of exciting things happening, and everything that we do, we're developing even more and enhancing everything that we do. So it's scary yet exciting, I guess. Exciting is my word today. Exciting.
yeah. Well, it's
Exciting. We're also we're moving, but a radio station is moving in with us as well, which is going to be a really great marriage.
Should we give a
of
shout
two
out?
medias. Yeah, let's give a shout out to Aaron and Jess Ishmael, who own 97.7 The Moose, 107.1 WPLA, the new rock station, which is phenomenal.
They own both of those?
They own 3,
Oh.
and they own WPLB, which is what's it actually called?
The Moose.
No, that's 97.7. That's all right.
Quick research.
Yeah.
But anyway, 3 stations, so that's potentially game changing too. I mean, is there a potential for some be able to work with them to have some podcasts become available on a different medium?
We're really hoping so. Everything's in development right now, and we're talking, but it's going to be a really great marriage for sure.
So let's talk about the sponsorship and the advertising and the underwriters here. I mean, obviously none of this stuff is free, so we want to make this a sustainable business model.
Right.
How can our listeners or viewers become involved in a way to make this more sustainable?
Well, number one is to educate yourself on what we're doing here and realize that it's a great service that we're bringing to this community. I really, truly believe that. So once you believe that,
I'm still holding out.
man, we're hoping that, like I said earlier, we're an ad-based company for a lot of what we do. It opens up opportunities for businesses to be exposed in ways that they've never been exposed before in the North Country. I think everyone's used to your typical radio and television. Now we're bringing audio, just like radio, but through podcasting, through our YouTube channel, visuals of your products and things like that. So we're really hoping to bring something to businesses to expose what they're doing in a new way, new light.
Sure, and I think with more and more people getting away from cable and getting away from
Right.
TV,
Yeah.
the future
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
internet. So we provide that outlet.
Right,
now.
and what I love about what we provide is it's archived.
Mm-hmm.
So if you listen to the radio and you've purchased a spot on the radio, it's got great reach if the radio station is good, but then it's gone. So you need to keep purchasing ads,
Right.
which there's a place for everything.
Mm-hmm.
You hit people in their car, with the radio stations. At work, they're listening. And what we provide is something a little different, and it lives on the internet, so you can go back and you can, rewatch it, or a year from now somebody can watch it and see your company and see what you have to offer.
Yeah, and I mean, we're almost exclusively doing North Country things, so our listenership is, at this point, almost exclusively North Country. So for advertisers, it makes a lot of sense. You're definitely going to be hitting your target demographics if you advertise through North Volume Media.
Right, and I think that's really where a little bit of education will be helpful, and we're going to have a sales team that's going to be out and about real soon to, kind of let you know how powerful this really can be. So we're excited.
Yeah, no, and certainly I am too. I mean, we're doing some pretty cool stuff here because of North Volume and the producers here. So I wanted to thank you guys for joining us. Let's just end here with some more of the promotional work that you're doing. So there's an event coming up. Let's talk about that. That's a big one.
Yeah, this will date the podcast a little bit, but that's okay. We have a show. Our first sponsored event by North Volume Media is bringing comedian Jeff Dye to Plattsburgh.
Really?
Yeah, Jeff Dye, Plattsburgh, comedian.
When
feel
is
like
that?
I've heard that.
When is that happening?
That's going to be happening on November 30th and December 1st. So there's 2 nights at Retro Live, $18 in advance, $20 at the door. Come laugh your ass off, because he actually is very, very funny, and a great guy too. So if you're lucky, he'll hang out afterwards and you can have some fun with him. But we want to keep bringing these events, brought to you by North Volume Media, and have give other businesses like the Moose is one of our sponsors, and
Z Group.
the Z Group, Zach Lattenville's real estate company.
Yeah.
Give them opportunities to be seen in the advertising that we do for these events, because we're hoping that these events are going to be pretty big.
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, obviously, Bob Garcia coming in at the Strand.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
excited
yeah.
about that. Lowell did a
Awesome.
really good interview with him.
Yeah.
So, I think excited is the word, because there's a lot of cool things happening. That's one of the things that made this doing this podcast easier for me, is because there's so many cool things going on. I was, kind of when I was kicking around, can I make this sustainable? And I think the answer is yes. And look, we're at 40 right now, and the thing that's really inspiring to me is that it seems like the first maybe 3 or 4 months I did this, it was just, doing it, getting it out there. No one really seemed to don't notice anything, which was okay. I just wanted to do it. It's a little cathartic to me to talk about these issues. But now, the last 2 months or so, I'm actually, finally getting people just randomly, I didn't even know, like, are you Matt Waite? You have a podcast? I was like,
Ooh.
yeah, no, I mean, so it
You
does.
get recognized? Is that an autograph?
Not to stroke
Kissing
the ego
babies?
too much, but
It's not Mike Waite.
I've gotten that a couple times.
Oh, have you?
Mike's pretty popular, but no, I mean, I really think at the end of the day, people are starting to recognize that, and to the point of advertisers, I mean, we're finally getting to a point where people are saying, "Hey," and people are kind of coming to me and say, "Hey, I wouldn't mind," and it's like, yeah, and a lot of people, again, our listeners should know at this point, I have a very broad view of innovators. I mean, I think there's so many cool things going on here that we'd love to do this for another 100 episodes, but we'll take it one at a time. So, all right, thanks a lot for joining us, gentlemen. So, just as we finish out here, were there any parting thoughts here, Damian, about the new North Volume? Anything we didn't cover?
The magazine is actually going to be ramped up a little bit, so it's going to be shorter articles that you read, and more visual, so more
pictures,
more
yes.
pictures, more pictures and more video. So. And it'll also be narrated too, which is really cool to offer, that you can just press play and listen to the magazine as well.
That's cool.
So we're really trying to be different, and it'll always be digital, because it's the only way that I feel we can really showcase artists in this area.
All right, so for all our listeners and now viewers, check out www.northvolume.com, and you're going to have all of these services, all of this amazing content at your fingertips. So thanks a lot for joining us today, guys.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
And then just to finish up here, so for our listeners, please, as we alluded to, go ahead and like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things to make the content a little bit more available to you. And of course, when you like, share, it just makes it easier for other people to find it too. So we just want to keep the conversation going, but we can't do that without our listeners helping to help further the goal here and the mission. And we do that by widening our audience, and very much looking forward to that. If we have any suggestions for episodes, waitinnovate@gmail.com. That's WAITE. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So again, like, share, keep the conversation going. So thanks so much. We're 40 in, hoping to do another 40, but we want to have everyone back for episode 41 of Why Wait Innovate, only on North Volume.